I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you're listening to Hard NOC Life.
Well, it's the NOC in full color, you see me? The Hard NOC Life, comics, movies, and TV. Yeah.
Welcome to Hard NOC Life. I am Keith Chow. I'm actually rolling solo. Brittany and Dominic are off this week. In fact, we're all off this week. This is a special episode in which I'm actually sharing the first episode of another podcast that I host called Shelf Conscious. It's about action figure collecting. Almost a year ago to the date that I decided to launch yet another podcast on the Hard NOC network, focus on my love of collecting action figures. And so I launched this podcast called Shelf Conscious. The very first guest that we had was fellow nerd of color William Bruce West. He runs the West Week Ever website. You can find that over at westweekever.com. We had a great conversation. This was recorded back in May of 2021. It's the 1 year anniversary of Shelf Conscious. So since we're off this week, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to listen to my action figure collecting podcast. If you're interested, if you like what you hear, feel free to subscribe at hardknockmedia.com/shelfconscious and check it out.
This ain't just a Toy Story or a foreign unboxing. These are the stories of action, toy glory, and work clocking. SH Figuarts, Black Series, or Hot Toys. And figures with transformation sequences that make noise. Check out the joints and the many points of articulation. We're celebrating the global collector nation. Sit back, relax, and get ready to rock this. Here's the real Chow. Welcome to
the very first episode of Shelf Conscious. I am your host, Keith Chow. It is my pleasure to welcome the very first guest on this podcast, because I think he was one of the first guests on my old podcast, Hard NOC Life, when that used to be on YouTube. He is a master of pop culture. We used to work together at Diamond Comics, and he knows more about pop culture than you've forgotten or something. He's forgotten more about pop culture than you know. He is the creator of the West Week Ever. Please welcome to Shelf Conscious, Mr. William Bruce West.
Hey, how's it going?
How you been?
Pretty good. Could be a lot worse.
Could be a pandemic. It could be.
Yeah. No, I fared pretty well the past year or so it's a blessing.
Yeah. Let's keep it that way. Yeah, man, it's wild. Like 8-9 years ago, whenever we launched the Nerds of Color, you were one of the. You might have been on that first show we did, like with Jen and James, and now here we are. We get to, it's been 8 years, but finally get to talk about the thing I actually love talking about. It's not representation,
which is important.
It's important.
But no, we're here for the toys.
We're here for the toys. We're all about action figures. So full disclosure, like when I talk about my nerd passion, it's not comics, it's not TV, it's not video games. It's 6-inch plastic figures, and specifically 6-inch. Like that's my kind of bread and butter when it comes to collecting. But I wanted to ask you, William, what is your, why do you consider yourself a collector? What's your thing?
I just never really grew out of it. I mean, we all grew up with, even though I'm a child of the 80s, a lot of 80s properties mean nothing to me. Like He-Man didn't do it. I think a lot of the problem was those were like afternoon cartoons in like Maryland. And I was in an after school program. So I got home just in time to see the credits for DuckTales. Like that was it. So Thundercats means nothing, but G.I. Joe, like that really, like that was one of the first franchises that really did it for me. But again, I got in the like era that a lot of people hate. Like I love the Deke era when everything is like Ninja Force and Star Brigade and all that stuff. So I everybody became a teenager. I got into music and had like limited funds. So then I cycled through hobbies. It was like, this is CD time, or this is comic book time. But then after college, I really kind of came back to it, especially because I started working. my first job ever was at Toys R Us.
Wow, you lived the dream.
Yes. It was after I graduated from high school. So that first summer after high school, worked at Toys R Us, and I was kind of into it, but like I was more into like I really wanted a Razor scooter because that was like when they first came out. I wasn't really into, but like it kind of got back into me like over the course of that summer. And then I guess like the line that really did it for me, that like brought me back as an adult collector, would be DC Universe Classics from Mattel.
Oh wow! So like that was much more recent than I anticipated, because I had figured like your kind of like reintroduction into toy collecting, because that's, I mean, it's crazy. It's been like 10 years since DCUC, but I would assume you were going to say like, I know you're not a Star Wars guy, so that's probably why you didn't say Star Wars. But like something else, DCUC is like you're already in your like late 30s by the time DCUC comes out, right? Like, isn't that like just a couple years ago?
Late 20s.
Oh, that's right. I forget I'm a little bit older than you.
But no, like there were certain lines. Okay, so even though in high school, like I kind of got out of toys, I've always been a Power Rangers person. Like since I remember watching the premiere on what we call Power Rangers Day now and thinking this show will never work. This show is terrible. And then I was the one calling every Toys R Us in the tri-state area, like, do you have the toys? Do you have? So from the moment they were like hard to find up until college, I was a Power Rangers guy.
These are like the Bandai figures.
Yeah, the Bandai ones. Like Toys R Us started making it a lot easier, where they just started selling these like 6-packs. Like, so you didn't have to hunt like every Ranger. Like around Christmas, there was just like the Ranger pack. And for like $50, you got like all 6 of them. And I would just buy those. And I'd come home from college and I'd buy one of those. So I've stuck with Power Rangers, even like when I first started thrifting, I was looking for Zords. So like I have a whole cabinet that's just Zords that have been compiled through thrifting, like complete Megazords. Like I just found a piece here, a piece there. So Power Rangers has been like the through line, but I think like it was never aimed at adults until like recently. So like when I could proudly come out as an adult collector was DC Universe Classics.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's just my story, right? Like I think like for most people, our generation at least, like, you know, there was the way the 80s for me, like clawed onto you. Even like you couldn't even escape it. You even said like G.I. Joe, even though it was like the shittier versions of G.I. Joe later in the 80s. Like it's still it still grabbed onto you, right? Like that 80s franchise. And I feel like for so many of like the collectors of our age, it is kind of this nostalgia for like 80s and early 90s stuff, right? Like that's what keeps always cycling back. I always wonder, like, kids 30 years from now, like, are there going to be like Fortnite nostalgia? I don't know.
Yeah, Ryan's going to be on like the convention circuit, all burnout signing autographs.
Right. So for me, it was the same thing. Like I had all the He-Mans, I had all the Thundercats, all the G.I. Joes as a kid, all the Star Wars toys as a kid. And then, you know, you hit that point for me, like it was around high school where your mom says, okay, yard sale. And I'm like, I don't care. Get rid of all that shit.
Right.
You know? And that, like, I wish if I had a time machine, I would not go back in time and kill Hitler. If I had a time machine, I would stop my mom from selling my Masters of the Universe figures for like $100 for the whole lot.
I appreciate that. That's approachable. There's no crazy butterfly effect from that.
My life would have been completely different, probably. Other than that, I probably would have never gotten married.
No,
but at least I would have still have my original Battle Cat.
Right. Luckily, I never had that that yard sale, that moment, like I still have, like at my mom's house, all the original Joes, like all the Ghostbusters, the firehouse, like all that stuff. Because we never, like, I know there will come a time I have to decide what to do with it. But right now, I just treat her house like a shed. So like we haven't had that moment where it's like, all right, you gotta like put up or shut up, you know?
Wow.
So,
I envy that, because that was definitely, and then but that's the thing too, right? If that moment had come when you were 13, 14,
right.
what choice would you have made, right? Do you
I
think
would
you
have bought 10 more Ace of Base out.
Yeah, so that's the thing, like it was, and I think what gets me the most really is just like, this was before the times. This was before eBay. This was before you could like even look up. This is before Toy Fair. You couldn't even look up how much toys cost, right?
Yep.
So it was just like my mom had a box, and I literally had like every He-Man. You know what I'm saying? I had Castle Grayskull. I think I swiped my cousin Snake Mountain because he gave it up before I did. So I was like, I'll take it. And then like I had all that shit. And then it was like, I was a snot-nosed 14-year-old, and my mom was like, we're having a yard sale. I was like, I don't care.
Right.
And like, because my mom had a similar yard sale 10 years later, and I was in my early 20s. And by then I'd already reintroduced myself to toys. And she was like putting some of these old Batman stuff out on. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
We're taking that back.
Oh yeah.
So you said 80s stuff was not your bag, but you did like G.I. Joe. And I mean, Turtles, I guess, is like 80s.
It's on
90s.
that cusp. Like I was a huge Turtles person. Like if there was a fad, I was probably into it. Like, like Batman the Animated Series, Turtles, Ghostbusters, G.I. Joe. I actually own, because when my Toys R Us closed and they were like demolishing everything, I got the sign from aisle 6D that like hung over that told you what was in the aisle. So it's like G.I. Joe, Ghostbusters, Batman, and like Spider-Man. And I was like, if it just had Power Rangers on there, this would be my life. Like it ran the whole like gamut of what I've been into.
Yeah. That's awesome. So like you still have that display
Oh
somewhere?
yeah, it's like 50 pounds because I don't know how they hung it up, and I leave it in our laundry room. Like I don't know what to do with it, but I'm never getting rid of it.
Well, so I wanted to talk about, the reason I brought that up is that like, those were the heyday of action figures, right? Like I think again, that's why so many like 30 and 40-year-olds, when they collect, they're not collecting like new lines, right? Like it's like classic versions of the stuff that, more adult, more mature versions of the shit that they played with as kids, right? Like right. Better articulation, better likenesses. And I just wonder, like, again, thinking forward, like what would be the toy line that like our kids would go into the store and see and think, because when you walk down the Target, and first of all, there's less toy aisles to walk down, but when you walk down the Target or Walmart toy aisles, like half that shit is geared towards us. I don't see any like 5-year-old tugging on their mom's arm saying, give me that like McFarlane heavy metal Batman.
Right.
That's for me and you. That's for it's kind of like the problem with the comics industry is like catering towards like a dying, shrinking category of people. How are we going to get kids into that shit? Like, as much as I hate like Titan heroes, I feel like, well, at least, maybe a 5-year-old is going to buy that and ultimately buy toys, Marvel toys in the future,
Right. A gateway. I can't stand the Titan heroes, but like they're a gateway, like hopefully. We hope they are. But you're right. Like, what is there? I mean, I've got an almost 3-year-old and I've got a 6-year-old. The 6-year-old is all about Roblox. Like, she's like, Dad, she likes having and acquiring. She doesn't play with it. She just snatches it from the 3-year-old when like she wants to play with it. So like I don't like it really is gonna be like the Roblox anniversary tour or like again Ryan or like Deanna or all these countless like YouTube personalities I've come to know and loathe.
They have their own toy lines for some reason.
Yes.
Going back to like your collection, you never got rid of them. So like,
nope.
Good for you. But when you got reintroduced, when you finally could come out as an adult toy collector, what was it about DCUC that made you like dive headfirst back into collecting? Because again, that was like after like Marvel Legends had been around for a while. like WWE had gone through various versions of figures for a while, you know, like DC. I'll talk about my bones with DCUC in a minute, but just tell me about what was it about that line that appealed to you?
I like getting in on the ground floor of things. Like I was all in on the Ultimate Marvel Universe because I was like, this is what it was like in 1963, you know. So I was all in. I'm probably like the only person who has like the whole run of that line, and it was the same with like DCUC. I was at Toys R Us when it started, and then there was that first wave, and then the first wave got recalled because of the lead situation in China, and then like so they were like. We had them in the back, but we couldn't sell them. So they were just there teasing me every time I went to the stock room. So the minute that was like lifted, I was like, okay, I'm in this line. And same with like Movie Masters, which was like around the same time from Mattel. I said I was going to be like a completist with that line because I really like the likenesses. I'm a huge Batman fan. That was going to do it for me. So it was being around at the beginnings of these lines. Like I look back at Marvel Legends and I can't believe how good we had it. Like a figure, a stand, a comic, all for like $7.99.
The only catch was it was in this ridiculous clamshell that you couldn't open.
which was perfect because when you look at what happens now with you couldn't steal anything.
You can't figure swap back then.
Nope. So like I remember when I was at Diamond, in fact, that was the first time I bought Marvel Legends. It was the MODOK wave. And I just happened to be in Toys R Us when the whole wave was there. And I was like, I've never done a Build-A-Figure before. This is kind of cool. So
like,
I just bought them all. Yeah, what is this? So like that kind of did it for me, but I still wasn't on the Marvel train until because I felt like too much had passed at that point. That was still like wave 11 or something. So like when Hasbro got the license, it was like, okay, this is a good starting point. So I was really into, I guess it lines up with the DCUCs, but I think they predated a little bit where I was really into Hasbro's Legends from like before there was a Build-A-Figure. There was that period where they just came with like a stand maybe, or you got the mini Build-A-Figure of like Hit Monkey or something like that. So DCUC was the gateway, which then led to Marvel Legends, Hasbro, and then it just spiraled out of control.
And now you can't stop yourself.
I can't stop myself.
You know, I think back to that era, like that, like late 2000s, because like you said, Movie Masters, right? I think that was one of the things that I was really like, even before Movie Masters, there was the predated DCUC was the DC superheroes.
Yep, I was into that. So
yeah, and then the Batman had its own line right before that too. Like remember the what was he called? The Zip Line Batman.
Yep.
Man,
I've got those guys. Like, so I guess because that Batman line started in 2003.
Yeah.
Because I had just graduated college. So that's my through line is Mattel's
like, Batman stuff.
Yeah, Mattel's Batman stuff.
Yeah, like I remember when Zipline came out because I found there was like I used to work at my parents' restaurant and we had on the back of checks when we were bored, my brother and I would just draw pictures or like, you know, fantasize about whatever. And I remember fantasizing about like a dedicated Batman comics line that was 6 inches, you know, because this was like in the mid 90s, late 90s, like that was no such thing, right?
Right. Everything was 5 inches.
Everything was 5 or below, no articulation.
Rangers was this weird 5.5 that didn't scale with anything else.
And I just remember, because I don't remember why I wanted 6 inches at the time, because 6 inches was, to your point, I think maybe like Toy Biz was the only 6-inch line back then of the Marvel, like Marvel Legends was already around in the late 90s. And anyway, but I just like, what if there was a Batman line like that? And I remember I might still have it somewhere. If I find it, I'll put it on Instagram. But like I wrote out like who would be in the wave would have Batman and Robin and Commissioner Gordon. Like the idea of a Commissioner Gordon figure in like the mid 90s is just like ridiculous. Right. Now we have fucking Alfred. So
right. Commissioner Gordon would be the one that like somebody would do like a custom oven wizard, or like there would be some like grayed out picture from Toy Fair that like, oh, they say Commissioner Gordon's coming. You'd never see it.
You would never get a Commissioner Gordon.
They only sold it in Canada.
Yeah. So, but when they announced I think that line was just called Batman, and then like the zip line Batman was the first one with the with a black bat on the gray chest, which is my favorite bat's symbol.
They just have no elbow articulation.
They don't have zero articulation. Like, it's so funny to go back. Even those like early Marvel Legends from Toy Biz, like at the time, they're like, these are amazing. And then you look back at them and like, holy shit, we thought these were cool. you know, like they don't hold up. They're flimsy as fuck, you know?
That's what scares me now, because like, I'm done with DC. I won't do the McFarlane stuff, but like with Marvel, if Hasbro ever loses the license, then like Jazzwares or whoever gets it is gonna make stuff that makes this pale in comparison. And I'm like, I've sunk so much money into it.
Well, that's how I felt about it, because DCUC, I wasn't a completist with it. Like, I just kind of like cherry picked the characters I liked. And but it was a lot. Like, I don't know if you remember seeing some of my Facebook albums of like my DCUC collection, but I would have my like villains on one shelf. I had my heroes on another shelf. Now they're all sitting in boxes because I've replaced them with like other stuff, right? Like, I don't have a massive space to display everything, so I have to like cycle things in and out. Right. So I wanted to ask you, like, you have a massive, and I don't know, I've seen your Instagram of just like boxes piled in corners. I get like. How do you, what is your strategy for display? Because like I see some of these YouTubers and they just have like rows and rows and rows of like Detolf shelves. I'm like, I got one Detolf shelf and like another shelf. You can see behind me. Right. Like, that's the extent of my collection that I can display. Like I said, I got plastic bins of a whole bunch of crap, but like I have to cycle them in and out. Like, how do you decide what gets on display? Because I remember you had shown on Instagram this really cool like mirror box of Power Rangers. Right. Yeah. So we got a house 3 years ago and my wife gave me the basement, but like everything I had 2 storage units because like everything was in totes. Like my Ranger tote has not been opened in like a decade. Like, what you saw displayed is new merchandise. Like the classic lightning stuff, it's all the lightning stuff, right? It's all the lightning stuff. Like the classic stuff, I'm scared it's yellowed. So I was saying Schrodinger's Tiger Zord. Like, I won't open it up. That's the name of this episode, by the way. Schrodinger's Tiger Zord.
So like she gave me the basement, but we emptied out the storage units. So everything went down there and it's like, it's uninhabitable. And I told her, I was like, oh, just give me 3 months and I'll have it cleaned out. And then that was 3 years ago. And then I thought that the pandemic, like, oh, it's going to give me all this time. Still looks like a war zone down there. But I did display some stuff. So I've got most of the Legends displayed. I have 6 Detolfs now. The Marvel Legends got out. I have these old gothic kind of things for the Batman stuff, the DCUCs. So that got displayed and that line is like done. So I don't have to touch them except when they fall down. And then I made like a Ranger Nook, which you saw on Instagram. So that's pretty much where I am of like Marvel Legends gets displayed, the Batman stuff gets displayed, and the Rangers. Anything else, it's a crapshoot. Like Jezzo Classified, I'm in it with everybody else, but I don't have a display plan or anywhere to put them. So I keep them in the box because I will probably sell them.
Well, you can make a killing with G.I. Joe Classified, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. Guess what? Goalie Nutrition is sponsoring Hard NOC Life, and you can go to goalie.com to buy apple cider vinegar gummies. They're ashwagandha gummies, superfruit gummies, and super greens gummies. And you get 10% off plus free shipping if you use the code HARDNOC at goalie.com. This is honestly, I've been taking the goalie gummies now for a couple weeks, and I have to say, they're tasty and they're good for you. Have you guys been enjoying the goalie gummies?
I really like them. They're yummy, but it's a nice to add to my like routine of already like I normally take just straight vitamin C, so it's nice to have like extra supplements.
For a long time, people have praised the benefits of apple cider vinegar, and you know, as someone who's had to like drink straight apple cider vinegar sometimes when I'm not feeling well, or you know, I have some joint pain, and your mom was like, "Drink some apple cider vinegar." It's not the most appetizing home remedy, let's just say.
Right. It tastes horrible.
So, like the apple cider part is like, ooh, does it taste like apple cider? And it's like, no, it tastes like vinegar. But ACV is very good for you. And the fact that Goalie has been able to put the ACV into these tasty little gummies made with pectin and fruit peels, which make them vegan, which is cool. So if you're vegan, you can still rock these gummies, because everyone knows gummies are usually made out of like gelatin and nasty shit. These are made out of complete non-GMO, gelatin-free, gluten-free, vegan ingredients, and you can get the benefits, all of the benefits of apple cider vinegar, taking these tasty, delicious, convenient gummies. So go to goalie.com and use the code HARDNOC, that's HARDNOC, just like the podcast you're listening to. Get 10% off your purchase of Goalie products and free shipping.
It's a much better delivery device for that apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
These Goalie gummies are great. You get it, and it's a delicious little candy. And I've been enjoying the Super Fruits one. I did feel kind of refreshed after taking a few of those.
Yeah, no, but I'm loving them so far, and they're definitely tasty. If you just want tasty gummies, at least just eat them for the yumminess.
Yeah. So go to goalie.com, use the code HARDNOC, HARDNOC, get 10% off your purchase and free shipping at goalie.com with the code HARDNOC. Hard NOC Life is being sponsored by Athletic Greens. I want to talk to you about Athletic Greens. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Basically all the things. One of the best things about Athletic Greens is that it's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It also contains less than 1 gram of sugar and no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, and it still tastes good. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day, that's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is partnering with Hard NOC Media to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/emerging. That's athleticgreens.com/emerging to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. I don't know if you can see behind me, like I have all my classifieds up right there. And I have most of them. I don't have Beachhead because he's impossible to find.
Yep.
And like the cheapest you can find him online is like $250. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not paying $250. Beachhead, I don't even like Beachhead that much.
No.
Here's the thing. The only reason I want Beachhead, I want his beret. Because I want to put his beret on my Killmonger figure and make my Killmonger figure my movie Stalker figure. Because that was my dream. I already have 2/3 of my dream. I have Henry Golding and Asian Snake Eyes and Andrew Koji as Storm Shadow. And I'm going to get those movie figures and put Michael B. Jordan in the middle as Stalker with a beret. But that's the only reason I want Beachhead. I don't give a shit about Beachhead himself. I just want his beret.
My problem is they're making all the niche Joes like the Target exclusives. So like I really want Bazooka. There's no way Bazooka's mass market when they finally
even
get
the
around
mass
to it.
market Joes are impossible to find. Like,
oh yeah,
Target's they for the last 6 months they've had like GI Joe pegs.
Yep.
And nothing's ever been on those pegs. Like I think the very first image I tweeted from the Shelf Conscious Twitter was like, holy shit, there's a Zartan on the pegs. That's it. I've rarely seen them on the pegs. Like the ones I actually own, I think I ordered from either Amazon or Big Bad Toy Store. Please sponsor this podcast, by the way. And you know, I know people say don't pay scalper prices, but I had to for the Cobra Trooper because I wanted it so bad.
Right.
That I paid like $80 for it. Which isn't too bad. Like, I mean, it sounds stupid to say to pay $80 for a figure, but
no, it's not if you really want it. See, I fell into the trap of I laughed when they said 6-inch Joes. Like I said, that's never gonna sell. There's no market for it. Like, let them have it. And then
that's what Target thought too.
right. And then you couldn't find them. So there was one day I was in Target and they had all of Wave 1, and I was like, I laughed at people about this, but they're all here. And I have to have them.
And they look good.
And it kills me because it was the week after I found a peg full of Beachhead and a peg full of Trooper and a peg full of the Roadblock. Like I just in Target one morning, but we didn't know how rare they were gonna be.
Oh
So,
no,
like-
that's your my mom sold all my He-Man story.
Yes, they had just opened the case of all three, and like I'm looking online, and people are like, "Oh, I need this Beachhead. I gotta find Beachhead." So I just grabbed all of Wave One, and then it was over. Like then I was all in, but I paid like 60 for Firefly. I don't even like Firefly, but I was trying to be a completist.
Yeah.
So-
Yo, Firefly I actually found in the wild. Firefly and Viper I found in the wild. Like it was like literally, we're going to talk about Holy Grails in a second, but like I wouldn't say Firefly or Viper was a holy grail, but it was definitely a holy shit moment because
oh, definitely.
the beauty of the toy hunt, right, is like you literally feel like fucking Robert Irwin. Like,
Oh,
there
yeah.
it is.
I mean, there have been a couple times where I got there and there was the line, and like they had the case, but there's only 6 in the case, and I'm number 7 or I'm number 8. Like that happened a lot with Viper. So I'm one of those people who's like, I'm gonna quit this line, and then the next time they announce one, like I went to 4 Targets and a Walmart just before this call looking for Major Blood.
Wait, is Major Blood not a Target exclusive?
He is a Target exclusive, but Walmart I was looking for the WandaVision wave for Marvel
right.
Legends.
Yeah.
'Cause see, I'm all in with Hasbro at this point.
Right.
Like,
Well, they literally own like all of the licenses. They're like
Everything.
the Disney of toys.
there's a Fan First Friday, and that's like if it's either Rangers, Marvel, or Joe's.
If only you like Star Wars.
right.
If only you like Star Wars, you'd be with the Black Series. I mean, I know there are people who've said online like they wish Hasbro would just buy the DC license because like that's the one thing, Mattel, we both have an affinity for the DC UC figures, but I think even as DC UC fans, like Mattel's distribution when it came to those lines was terrible. Their QA is not as good as Hasbro's. Oh, hey, my cat's making her first appearance on the podcast. She's never made an appearance on any other podcast before.
Oh wow, she's got some toys to talk about too.
But with the Mattel stuff, like people used to bitch and moan about Mattel like having the license. But I'm with you. Like when they went over to McFarlane, I bought the first Batman and Superman from the McFarlane waves, and I wasn't impressed. And like they're too big. Like I have a few 7-inch figures because I have some of the DC Direct stuff. I have some of the NECA figures.
Right.
But like they have their own kind of like display. Like my main scale is 6-inch.
Yep, same.
And I don't know. There's something about the McFarlane style because I was always I know people said like the Fortnite figures are articulated but I've always been burned with like McFarlane toys my whole life, and I was never
they're just statues with joints.
barely having joints too.
Right. I bought the Flashpoint Batman from Target because it was like their exclusive, and I took it out of the package and I was like, huh, and then I promptly put it on Mercari because it did nothing for me.
Yeah.
And then I bought Batman Beyond because like he doesn't have to mesh with any like regular Batman display, and I think I'm done. I'm not a McFarlane guy.
Yeah, I'm not a I mean, and that's the thing too. Like I have friends who are like they literally collect anything Batman, and I'm just like, wow. I love Batman as much as you do, bro, but I draw a line in some places, and I just can't get it. And I'm not, I haven't, like, full disclosure, really read a comic in like 10 years. New 52 was like when I was like, I'm done with comics.
Really?
I'll dip in and out of some, like I've read most of like Tom King's Batman run.
Okay.
But for the most, like Rebirth kind of pulled me back in a little bit, but like I was, we're closing in on the 10-year anniversary of New 52, and that's when I was like, nope.
See, I was all in because I'm the ground floor
you like
guy.
being exactly.
You like floor. So I have like.
But that was the worst ground floor because it's like a ground floor where they had all this like. Actually, all the things that happened in Batman for the last 80 years still happened, but just in 5 years. I was like,
right.
nope.
Like
That doesn't make any sense. I can't do this.
I was going through a long box last week and I was like, Frankenstein and Shade, Aquaman. Like, why do I have this stuff? But like Rebirth was when I got out. So
really?
I haven't read any, like, but I'm dumb because I still go to the shop every week. So I have the issues, but I haven't read the Tom King run yet. I haven't read the like James Tynion run yet, but I have them. I'll get to them when I run out of figures to buy.
If only like people knew what we do with our disposable income, right? Well, like I hope our wives aren't listening to this podcast because they're like, wait, you just buy toys and leave them in the corner?
Yep.
Like,
well,
yes, I do.
My wife really got into crafting during the pandemic, like crochet and cross stitch and crochet and all this stuff. So like now we have like mutually assured destruction where like she goes to the yarn store. I can't ask anything about how much did you spend because there's a pulse box on the porch and we just quietly go our separate ways.
Going back to G.I. Joe, speaking of Pulse, did you get their exclusive Snake Eyes ever?
I did not. Because he came out when I was laughing at the line.
That's right.
So I did not. I had everything else. I did sell Baroness because the money was too sweet. And I feel like she's gonna come back.
That's the other one. I paid scalper prices for her because the one I got didn't come with the coil. And I didn't honestly care about the motorcycle.
Nah.
And from what I've read, it's not that great. But I really wanted Baroness because again, I am kind of a completist when it comes to the G.I. Joe line. The only figure I don't have Beachhead. I don't have the second Roadblock because I at this point, like unless you're an army builder, I don't need more than one of you. And then the second Roadblock didn't even look like Roadblock. It looks like Black Thought from the Roots.
Or Heavy Duty. Just call
him Heavy Duty. Yeah.
Because I told myself I'm not buying multiples of the same character.
Right.
Meanwhile, there's Pimp Daddy Profit Director Destro downstairs.
It's like 5 Cobra Commanders.
I have 3 of the Cobra Commanders. So now I'm like, I would probably buy that Roadblock if I came across him again. But I had rules in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, that was your mistake when it comes to the classified line, having rules. Because I was all in for 6. Like I said, 6 inches my ideal scale. And I was a G.I. Joe head for the beat. Like I think I've said this, you may know this. You were on the podcast with Larry Hama when we did Hard NOC Life a long time ago. Like Snake Eyes, those comics inform me as much as Batman. Like they're almost equal in my like love of pop culture figures. And so when they said G.I. Joe was coming back in 6-inch, I was like, holy crap, I'm all in. I was like the first person to buy the pre-order the deluxe Snake Eyes, and I'm so happy I did because now talking about crazy aftermarket prices, that thing is insane.
Oh yeah.
Do you have the regular one though? The all black one?
I have the all black one. I'm waiting for because of my era. I want the ski goggles, the blue.
Yeah.
We basically got that era Storm Shadow. So give me that era Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't have Storm Shadow either. I'm waiting for a more traditional Storm Shadow, like the Ninja Force Storm Shadow. He's more you than me because that's when you got it.
Up my alley.
I was like, you're going to start with the Ninja Force Storm Shadow? Okay, I'll wait until we get the traditional one. I think the Andrew Koji one's the only one I'm going to have for a while because I don't know when they're coming out with a regular Storm Shadow.
Right. And like I pre-ordered movie Baroness to fill that hole in my heart, but I canceled the pre-order last week when they threw that slew of Marvel stuff at us because I was like, I'm just saving $22, but I need to put that towards like this rescue Captain Marvel set.
Yeah, so where I draw the line, because I'm also, so we're talking about like what are the things I collect. Clearly I do classified. The Marvel Legends I do are just the MCU Marvel Legends. I think you even helped me get a couple years ago.
I started as just MCU, and then I was like, okay, MCU and X-Men. Okay, MCU and X-Men and Spider-Man. And then from like 13 to 16, I was a completist. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
So now I'm scaling back to like.
So were you a completist just for the Build-A-Figure, or you just like if it says Marvel Legends, I have to have it?
If it said Marvel Legends, I had to have it. But like the Build-A-Figure thing is kind of like if you're already getting 5 of the figures, you might as well get all 7 and then figure out the Build-A-Figure thing later. Like, you
Right.
can always flip it or whatever. But, like, if it said Marvel Legends, I had to have it.
Wow,
and that was
okay.
a dangerous period of time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I've always been fortunate in that I've always been a cherry picker. I've never felt the need to buy everything. And as I'm saying that, I realize that's not true. Because the Movie Masters, I was like that. I literally had to have every Movie Master. And the only one I don't have to this day, I don't have, is the Demon Batman, because that
Same
one
here.
is just like, I don't think that actually exists.
Right,
It's a myth, like it's an urban myth like Batman. It's like the line Cyborg says, I didn't think you were real. I don't think he's real.
I feel like I've seen him at like RetroCon or something, but so many years have passed, I couldn't even fathom giving real money for him at this point.
Yeah.
Like, just hand him to me.
Yeah, no, like, how much are you really getting for this? Like, who gives a shit about Movie Masters at this point?
Right.
But I am a Black Series guy because I, unlike you, I do like Star Wars. So like we're similar in that Hasbro Pulse owns like 4/5 of our souls, because unlike you, I'm not into Power Rangers at all. So like the Lightning collection, I can just bypass 100%. But I'm all in for Black Series. I'm all in for, you know, Marvel Legends, as long as it's MC. And I've kept that line very tight. There's so many MCU figures now though that I'm like, oh. To your point, I pass on the first rescue. But now that we have a rescue with a Gwyneth head, I'm like, that one I might need.
I'm one of those where it's like, gotta put this one on Mercari because I gotta get the one with the head.
Well, yeah. Well, I didn't get the first one in the first place, so it works out. But yeah, I'm like, that's. So I was gonna ask you, like, when it comes, you know, going back to like cycling in and out, like, what is the criteria for you to finally like part ways with something if you have to?
The only child in me keeps me from like getting rid of stuff. Like I have to have and take and have and have. But like getting rid of, when I really needed to pare down the Legends, especially from that like completist period of time, if I didn't know who they were, they had to go. Because, you know, there were so many of those where it's like Giganta, that's not even her name. Like the big... I don't even know her name. Like, she was in the Hulkbuster wave. Because there's like, somebody's gonna like criticize me for that.
That's fine.
I don't know her name. There were a whole bunch of people. I don't know their names. I don't know who they are. I don't know.
Like, you never read them. They were just
there. Like, I kind of did that recently with Frogman, but he looked kind of cool, and I needed the Stiltman parts. But like, ultimately, if I didn't know who they were, and they were just like the Serpent Society, I sold all those guys because I kept like the main guy because he looked cool, but the rest of them, because they made a lot of Serpent Society guys.
I remember seeing someone speaking of classified, made a Copperhead, I think it was Copperhead, into like a Serpentor.
Yes, that would be a good mod too. But like, basically, if I don't know who they are, they have to go. So like the Detoffs are kind of like themed. Like, I have an MCU broken up into phases, which is really hard to do because like phase 1 there was nothing.
Yeah.
Like there weren't really official Legends. They had to backfill, and then the phase 3 is its own 3
entire
Detoff. Yeah, it's 11 damn movies. And now like I'm trying to figure out what to do with like the non-MCU, like the Sony stuff or the Netflix stuff, and now the
Disney Plus stuff.
Like, because I don't have a phase 4 yet, but I hate all the figures I have from phase 4.
Oh, what do you mean?
Black Widow wave was a bunch of dogs.
That's right.
Black Widow.
Oh, that's right. We're in phase. I was like, what do you not like about? I thought, we're in phase 4 right now.
Yeah, Black Widow's a bunch of dogs. I have
not into the Shang-Chi figures.
The price increase came along, so I'm not into them for $22.49.
But only Aquafina's, I thought, hiked. I thought the rest of them were 19.
It depends on your target. So
really?
Like the one I found them at first, they were $22.49, and I was like,
Wow.
But like I did buy Aquafina. I ordered her because, you know, Target exclusives are a crapshoot, and I thought she was going to be rare. No,
she everywhere.
We're drowning in Aquafina.
People don't like Aquafina. I learned people don't like Aquafina.
What's funny is I still haven't seen the trailer, so I saw that figure and I was like, I don't know if Aquafina's in this movie, but this is a really good Aquafina figure.
She is a good Aquafina figure.
She is.
I don't know. I mean, I told myself I was going to pass on the Shang-Chi figures, but then I saw them in the store, and there was like they only had Tony Leung and Shang-Chi, the Mandarin and Shang-Chi. So I'm like, oh well, I've always told myself I would buy a Tony Leung figure if I saw one, so I got him. I was like, oh, if I'm gonna get Wenwu, I got to get Shang-Chi. So I got those two, and I was like, oh, Dorkside Toys allows you to buy loose figures without the Build-A-Figure, because I don't need Mr. Hyde. I don't give a shit about Mr. Hyde. So I was like, well, let me get Death Dealer and Xia Lang. And so I got them off of Dorkside. And again, Dorkside Toys, if you want to sponsor this podcast, please.
I did not know that about them with no Build-A-Figure. That's good to know.
So again, plug for Dorkside Toys. If you go to Dorkside Toys, they have a section where you can go and order like Marvel Legends figures without like loose, basically. So you get the figure and all of its parts, right? But no Build-A-Figure. And sometimes these sell out faster. You can just buy the Build-A-Figure for like $80.
Right. That's where I'm at with Mr. Hyde, because I don't know who he is. He's too big for my display, but I was already gonna buy. Like, I was like you. I thought when I first saw the figures, I thought they were just as boring as the Eternals. Like, I did not want them. I was not gonna do them, but I needed that hologram Tony. And then I bought Aquafina, and then I found the sister, which like I had never seen her at retail. So I was like, okay, I gotta get her. So now I just need Shang-Chi and Wenwu. Like, those are the two I don't have. And I'm like, I'm gonna build Mr. Hyde, figure out what to do with him. Yeah. But like, I'll get them on clearance.
Maybe. Well, definitely Aquafina, because $25 for that figure is crazy.
It is.
But if you ever check out Dorkside, like they will do like I said, you can get loose figures. It's, and then you can get just the Build-A-Figure. Like, I wanted to get Sam with all his wing parts, just that, because I didn't want to buy the whole, because of the Disney wave, I only really want Wanda, right, and Sam. Like, I don't really need another Winter Soldier. Like, I have the one you got for me like many years ago, and that's fine. And I didn't really need, I didn't need another Falcon, but I definitely want Captain America. But I didn't want him without his wings. And it's like, I got to buy all of them to get his wings. Fuck that. That's crazy. So, but then, Sam sold out like right away on Dorkside, so you can't get that. But anyway, it's not in the Transformers at all. You're not a Transformers guy at all.
My sentimental story, I have an affinity for Bumblebee, because Bumblebee was the last gift like I got for Christmas from my dad. And he passed away like 3 months later, like when I was 3. So like, I will collect or do, even though I still haven't watched the movie.
Great movie.
But I will collect any like vintage Bumblebee, that kind of thing. But yeah, Transformers, it falls into that like 80s He-Man, Thundercats. Like, it just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah. So we didn't get to talk about Turtles too much. I guess, are you into, like, I know that was a big thing for you back in the day. The thing for me about Turtles, like, I never collect, my little brother did, and he's not nostalgic like I am. So like, we never revisited Turtles. But the thing that I don't like, my guess, like toy collecting blind spot when it comes to Turtles, like, I don't know what is the difference between the Playmate stuff, the NECA stuff, the Super Set. Like, how does one brand have like 5 licenses all making the same size figures, basically?
It's crazy, because Playmate spent the better part of like 30 years not letting anybody touch that license. Like, it was like, this is ours, this keeps the lights on, go away. And then all of a sudden, like, anybody can make turtle stuff now. So like, to me, it's price. Like, Super 7's $50, NECA, a 2-pack is $60, and Playmates, they do whatever whenever they feel like.
Right.
But I don't do the current turtle stuff because it's just as hard to find. Like, first off, it doesn't really interest me. I am not a NECA guy. The QC issues, they cost too much for their issues. So like, that fan base is having just as much trouble finding their product as I am finding mine. So I don't need to add another stressor. Like Lightning Collection, it's hard to find because a store gets a case. There's only like one double in the case. It's just as bad as Classified, as bad as Legends. So I have 3 stressful toy lines. I just don't need another one.
And so I don't want to get off before we dive into this, because I should acknowledge that both you and I worked in nerd distribution.
Yep.
And the thing that like trips me out is why is toy distribution so damn difficult in the 21st century? Because like I remember back in the day, you would walk down, and maybe because there were Toys R Us's and they were actual places that cared about having toys, but like even in the, you know, whatever stores predated Target and Walmart in the 80s for like us in the East Coast, because those weren't around on the East Coast at least, like the toy aisle had pegs full of figures that you wanted, right? Maybe not all of them, but there was definitely like, I don't remember like, oh, I can't find Trap Jaw when I was 5 years old, right? Like if I wanted a Trap Jaw, the problem was convincing my parents to get me it, you know?
Right.
But like today, you literally like walk down an aisle in Target and it's empty. Like there's not a figure anywhere. And it can't just be scalpers waiting at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Like there's got to be something at the root cause of the distribution that makes it so damn hard to buy toys at a store. What do you think it is?
I always felt it was the scale, because you're basically putting less product in the same amount of space. Like when you go back to like 3 3/4 Joes, like a case could hold maybe like 2 full runs of the wave, while like that same box is 1 run of a 6-inch, you know. And it's like they're occupying the same space. And since toys have gotten bigger, it's the same way that like stores claim that they don't have the shelf space for like play sets anymore, but you go to like a Toys R Us and here's Castle Grayskull, here's the G.I. Joe General, here's like the sewer playset, that kind of deal. So I like in my heart, I blame the scale, because there is that issue of like, I've seen what Marvel Legends come in, like, and because of the size of the packaging and the size of the toy, you get like an 8-figure case where if you were dealing with 3 3/4 Joes, that could have been like 16 figures right there. You know, so like that's what I say. But then there is the like backroom stuff of the scalpers, the people who work there. Like everybody has this conspiracy of like, oh, the Target employees are like hoarding the stuff. But I mean, I worked at Toys R Us. I bought stuff off the truck. Like there are things I have that I've never seen in store. We were talking about those Batman figures from Mattel. There's that wave that's like the black suit Catwoman, the Two-Face, like the whole wave.
Yeah, that is like the last DC superheroes wave. Like those are the first ones I think I actually went on eBay and bought at like scalper prices, because I paid like $70 for the Batman, the black Batman with the utility belt, and then the black suit Catwoman and the two. Like I paid scalper prices for those.
I unloaded the truck. I said, oh, I put it aside.
So you're saying the conspiracy is true? There are people like you behind the.
There are no perks to those jobs except for like being there when the stuff hits. So like I don't really fault them. I mean I guess it comes down to like I'm also a reseller at times. I'm not a scalper. Like I won't go in and buy like a case of stuff. But if there's like 2 of something, I'll see if like a friend of mine needs it, or see if I can trade it for something or something like that, you know? So I understand the mechanics going on.
What do you think is a greater sin in the toy collecting business? Well, not business, the hobby. Is it figure swappers or figure scalpers?
Ooh.
Because let me make the case, and I may get hated in the toy collecting business for saying this. I actually feel like toy swapping is morally superior to toy scalping. And here's why. When you swap a figure, the only thing you're hurting is the company, because no one's buying it, right? You're hurting Hasbro, you're hurting Mattel, you're hurting Target, actually hurting Walmart, because Walmart's the one, they don't give a shit. Every Walmart I've been to, it's like, it's not even, they don't even figure swap. There's like empty packages in the Walmart.
Yep.
But it's kind of like the thinking behind like shoplifting is like, it's really you're doing it to survive, and really the company's insurance is going to take care of it.
Right.
But when you're scalping, you're taking a product that could be bought at retail and you're selling that for like, inordinate prices.
Oh yeah.
Hoping desperate people will pay you like 4 times. It's like Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
It's like NFTs.
I'm definitely with you there. I think scalping's worse because like this might get me some hate. I kind of think that swapping is an art form now. Like there have been some swaps where I'm like, touche. You know? So I like swappers are like Banksy to me at this point. Where like, okay, you got here before I did, and that was pretty convincing. Like today I found the death metal Batman with the guitar, and it had this weird thing in the package that I thought was a stand for the guitar. No, they had swapped out the legs for the like Dark Father figure or whatever he's called, and just put these like constructs looking things into the package. But it was so convincing. I was like, wow, that's a really like ornate stand for that guitar.
Like I might get that. Right. I might buy that and not even know the difference.
Like that was a good swap.
You know what I'm saying? And you're not if you ended up buying that, you're not spending like $90 extra to get it as if you were to buy that, you know, on eBay or whatever. So right. I don't know. I mean, both are wrong. You shouldn't do it, but I feel like there's a moral gray area when it comes to figure swapping where like people who like, to your point, show up at Target at $7.59, get all of the, you know, G.I. Joe classifieds that come out and then flip them for like $100 each.
No, the worst
can go to hell.
The worst part is you forgot a step. You gotta post it to the gram. Because there's one guy who, like, I'm sure you've seen it. He's on vacation right now. He bought, I want to say like 15 Bloods, and he took a picture on the balcony of his like resort. So he's like, oh, love being on vacation. And there's like palm trees in the background, and he's just got rows of Major Blood, and everybody wants to murder him right now.
Screw that guy. Last thing I want to ask you, Will, is, you know, everyone has their like white whale, their holy grail, the one figure or play set or vehicle that got away. And so the way I want to frame the question is, you know, because everyone's like, oh, it's the USS Flag, right? Like realistically, right. Like that's no one got that. Like the one kid on your street who got that was like the rich kid who like didn't even care that he got it, right?
Nope,
like he wanted a pony and got the USS Flag instead.
He later OD'd in college.
Right. Yeah. So what is the realistic white whale that you always wanted but never got? Or maybe, you know, when you turn 30, like I don't care, I'll pay $500 for that one thing that escaped me when I was a child. What would that white whale be?
Well, I don't have a lot of like, I guess because of being an only child and like begging and all this stuff, I got most of what I wanted. Like I got like the Firehouse and the G.I. Joe General and all that stuff. Like I guess the thing I've kept an eye on recently, so it's kind of like a modern thing, but I guess it's like my white whale. And some people are going to like laugh at this when you hear about like what it is, but I want the Marvel Legends Netflix Subway set because it's the only way to get Iron Fist and Colleen Wing. And like, because I was like the MCU completist, and they're not, the Netflix shows are MCU adjacent.
Yeah,
so like ish. So like
Kenya Barrett should have created them so they could just call them MCU-ish.
Right. So it's like I can sleep at night not having them, but like I have alerts set up everywhere, and it goes for about like 400 right now.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Because like you have the unmasked Daredevil, you have like different wardrobe Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, and then you end up with the Colleen and Danny figures that you can't get anywhere else. Like those figures come up on their own for like, Danny usually goes for like 120, Colleen goes for about 150.
Really?
So like, yeah. So that set is kind of like that's my current modern day grail. That's what I've got my like feelers out for right now.
Well, I bought Colleen. I don't remember paying that much for when I bought her though, because I bought her loose. Yeah. Because I needed to have, the Defenders. So I had Jessica Jones, I had Luke Cage, and I had Daredevil, all the like traditional Marvel Legends ones. And I needed an Iron Fist, so I got Colleen. And that's all I need. I didn't need anyone else. And I already had, Rosario Dawson. So I had for a while, I had my Netflix display. And I was like, look, I have the entire Defenders. And people were like, Nope, I got all four of them. There's Luke Cage, there's Daredevil, there's Jessica Jones, and there's Iron Fist.
He's played by John Cena. You can't see him.
You can't see him. Can't see him. And no, but I don't remember paying like. I definitely didn't pay triple digits for Colleen Wing, so that must have been like before that set was like crazy. So
yeah, but what's your grail?
Oh man, I think it's a couple things. Like to your point, like there's the toy that got away when I was a kid was I don't remember what company made it, but there was a Knight Rider car that came with a Michael David Hasselhoff.
Kenner
right? Was that Kenner?
Yeah.
And I wanted it so bad. Like my dad tells a story to this day where like I had a conniption in the middle of the store and like they didn't buy it for me.
Right.
And they never did. And I don't, I actually don't really like trawl like eBay for it, but if I ever saw it at like a thrift store at a convention, I might buy it solely because like it's the one thing, like to your point, I was an only child for 7 years and I had a little brother.
Right.
But for those 7 years, like for the most part, I got everything I wanted. Like, I had literally the entire Master of the Universe collection. There was like, we took a trip to Hong Kong one year and all my uncles and aunts like spoiled the hell out of me. So like every time we'd go to the Toys R Us, I was like, I want that one and that one and that one and that one. Like they had to buy another suitcase to bring home all the extra He-Man figures I got in Hong Kong. And these were like fresh out like the factory because it was Hong Kong, you know what I'm saying? So there was that. So that's the white whale from my childhood that I definitely, will always think about buying. But the modern thing, like the one thing that's like, oh, it's so hard to find. I mean, it's easy. It's like the G.I. Joe shit. It's like it's not so much that I would buy, like I would just be happy to see them on shelves.
Right.
Because I just like they're so good. Like to your point, I wasn't that one. That's not true. I was very excited when they announced Classified, but I thought the same thing. Who is it for?
Right.
Like the movies, not coming out for a while when they were announced, like Snake Eyes was a while. And like, they're definitely for people our age, but like no one younger than us even knows what G.I. Joe is or cares.
Right.
But then they looked so good that I had to, even despite all like the future guns and like the weird armor, like they're such good toys. I know you've never opened any of them, but they're really, really good toys. And the Snake Eyes is my favorite toy, like of the last like decade. It's like the deluxe one.
Really?
Because that one comes with the Uzi. The one you have has the weird gun.
Yeah.
But the deluxe one
gun
has the actual Uzi, and that's like the only way you can get them with an Uzi. And it's not Snake Eyes without an Uzi.
Right.
So, yeah.
I wish I'd done this from my office. I'm in like my bedroom right now. I have that Knight Rider car.
With Michael?
With the box.
Does it still talk after 40 years? Really?
It had to I got it on. It was an eBay purchase. At this point, probably about 7 years. I got it before our first daughter was born, and it was a lot. It was more, but it was probably
worth it.
It was worth it because it had the box. And I put the battery in and it had to recharge. It was like activate turbo boost. But then eventually it caught up. I haven't tested it lately, but I do have that with the Michael Knight.
Nice.
Yeah,
well,
so I was in the same boat. That was one I always wanted. I had every other bootleg Knight Rider because I was a huge Knight Rider person.
Mm-hmm.
I own the series on 3 different DVD sets. I was a huge. I have the Power Wheels in my mom's shed, so I had to have that.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I did not know that about. We've known each other for a long time, and I did not know that you had the Knight Rider with Michael. That's the thing, because I think there were 2 versions of it, right? There was just the regular car, and then there was the one that came with Michael that talked.
Yep.
And that's the one I wanted. I had it in my hand. I put it in my mom's cart, and my dad was like, $20? That's too expensive. No, because that was too expensive back in 1984 or whatever.
But no, you have to see the future.
Yeah. So again, if I had a time machine, I would stop myself from the yard sale and I would give my dad a 20 spot to buy me the Knight Rider.
I love how you use your time machine like Stewie Griffin. It's all just self-gain.
Yeah. Screw bettering the world. I would have a Knight Rider on my display at this point. Well, I mean, we could probably do this for another hour. And in fact, please come back. If I can't book any other guests, I might just have you on every week.
I'll be your Al Roker.
You can be exactly. Just laughing on my jokes. How can people find you on the internet to see some of your pop culture musings?
Can find me on Twitter at William B. West or Instagram, where I pretty much just post toys at this point, at William Bruce West, and my website, williambrucewest.com.
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter at @TheRealChow, _real_Chow, and follow this podcast, Shelf Conscious, at Shelf CONNOC, ShelfCon NOC. Follow the Nerds of Color at the Nerds of Color, and go to hardknockmedia.com to find all this stuff. Please hit that subscribe button down below and tell all your friends about this. If you love collecting toys, this is the show for you. Until next time, always come collect.